We're going to move on to Court of Criminal Appeals, Place 3, which is, of course, the highest criminal court in the state of Texas. And I think we have 3 candidates here, Leslie Fitzpatrick, Allison Fox, and Thomas Smith. If you can make your way up to the front. Yeah, whoever gets there first can grab the microphone and then gets to speak first. All right. I think it's just, okay. Yes, it's just y'all. Got 2 minutes to introduce yourself and tell folks why you're running.
Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Fox, running for the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, Place 3. So this is a job interview, and y'all are the hiring committee. We get to vote for our judges in this state. So this is the biggest job interview of my life. So I'm going to start out talking about, just like any job interview, with my background and my experience. So I am from Seguin, Texas. I went to the University of Texas on a Women in Science scholarship. I had planned on studying viruses, and I think back to when I was actually in the labs working with anthrax, and I said, yeah, I don't know if this is the direction I want to take in my life. But I had met a patent attorney while I was doing that work who suggested that I'd go to law school. And it took one internship at the district attorney's office for me to realize that my passion lay in criminal law. And I have been practicing criminal law for the past 20 years. I'm a former prosecutor from the Bexar County District Attorney's Office. I was actually the director of the Conviction Integrity Unit in Bexar County. And I've worked at the Court of Criminal Appeals for almost 10 years now. I am the only candidate in this race that has those qualifications. I have a card that's in your big stack of cards to help you show the difference between me and the other candidates. It says, check the box for Fox on the front, and on the back, you can see our chart, our comparison chart. This is important. This is the Court of Criminal Appeals, the court of last resort for criminal cases. We had an execution last night. This is the busiest court in the United States. We can't afford to have someone on this court that's learning on the job. If you vote for Allison Fox, I will be ready day one. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Thomas Smith. First of all, I'm grateful to have 2 minutes. Normally, we're lucky to get 1. And telling a lawyer they can only talk for a minute is like telling a Democrat they can only vote 1 time. It's the best I've got tonight. For the last 10 years, I've had the honor of working for the most conservative law firm in Texas, the Texas AG's office. And we've seen the damage that activist courts can do. We've been fighting it, including this court. This is the court that took away our authority to prosecute election fraud in the state of Texas. This is also a court that threw out our online solicitation law against minor kids. Texas went over a year, nearly 18 months, without having any such law. I bet y'all didn't know that. You would think on our state's highest criminal court, we would have 9 solid constitutional conservatives on it. We don't even have 5. That's why I'm running for this court. Now, you're going to hear a lot about endorsements and qualifications, and those things are important. You can check out all mine on my website, smithfortexas.org. But really, I think why you might be here tonight is because you want to know who the best Republican is. The best Republican candidate. That's what a Republican primary is for. I have a track record that can back that up. When the time came to ban sanctuary cities in Texas, I was one of 2 lawyers that worked with the legislature to get that done. When the time came to protect election integrity, I got on a plane and went to Arizona for Donald Trump. Those are just a couple of the things in my background to give you an idea that I will be a solid, dependable, conservative judge on this court. Thank you all so much. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
Good evening, Bastrop County. My name is Leslie Fitzpatrick, and I would like to be your next judge for the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, Place 3. Some of you may remember me. I ran for the Third Court of Appeals back in 2022. We narrowly won that one, lost by 2%. I think that was a practice session for this statewide race. I will tell you, I'm a fifth-generation Texan. I was born and raised in Lubbock, Texas, lived in the Permian Basin for 25 years before I moved to Austin in 2006 to go to work for state government. Before I did that, my first job was an intern at the First Court of Appeals in Houston while I was attending South Texas College of Law. I've spent over 20 years in the courtroom prosecuting and defending the kinds of cases that come before this court. And because of that 20 years of service, I have been rewarded by law enforcement. I am the law and order judicial candidate in this race. I have been endorsed by the two largest law enforcement associations in the state of Texas, the Combined Law Enforcement Association of Texas, the Texas Municipal Police Association. I've also been endorsed by the Houston Police Officers Union, the Houston Police Association of Spanish-speaking officers, the San Antonio Police Officers Association, the sheriffs in Lubbock, Midland, Ector, Tom Green, Denton, Williamson, Goliad, and Galveston counties. They trust me and my judgment. I currently serve as the Director of Special Litigation at the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. I handle the type of inmate cases and appeals that come before this bench. I am the best candidate in this race. Vote for Leslie Fitzpatrick when you go to the polls. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you can pull onto that, we'll get the first question in here. Describe your professional courtroom experience and how it makes you a better candidate than your opponents for this position.
Well, as I just stated, I spent 20 years as a felony prosecutor and a felony defense lawyer, but I've also had some appeal experience. When I was in private practice, I got licensed to practice in front of the United States Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is the federal appellate court, and so I have briefing and motion practice there, but I cut my teeth on criminal law. I have tried over 20 cases to a jury conviction. I understand the types of legal issues that come before this bench, and like I said, currently I work at the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, dealing with the types of inmate issues that this court deals with on a regular basis. Therefore, I think I have a very well-rounded history that has prepared me to serve you. Thank you.
And same question to Thomas.
Yeah, I have a very different background than my opponents and also many of the judges on this court. I don't have courtroom experience, but I will tell you that this is not the Texas Court of Assistant District Attorneys and Criminal Defense Lawyers. It's the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. If you put 9 judges on this court that are just with that limited experience, that narrow experience, you're asking yourself to have a lot of bad outcomes, and we've seen that on this court. I was a law clerk for the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Ohio. I've actually worked on death penalty cases and many other criminal matters. And then I went to Jones Day, which is a law firm that you may have heard of that produced Justice Scalia, Megyn Kelly, and a presiding judge of this court. I have a combination of civil practice, government service, and conservative credentials to offer you all, and that's my experience. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And Alice.
Well, I have criminal courtroom experience, but most importantly, I'm the only candidate that has appellate experience in front of this court. I've done oral argument before the Court of Criminal Appeals. I've worked at the Court of Criminal Appeals, and I've appeared before the Court of Criminal Appeals, filing briefs, filing appeals. That's what this court does. If Texas did not want a specialty court, we wouldn't have it in our Constitution. We need attorneys who are specialized in this area of law. It doesn't make sense to have someone that's never stepped into a criminal courtroom expect to handle an actual innocence case, expect to handle the case that the gentleman talked about, Rodney Reed. I actually helped work on the last writ in that case. I helped draft that opinion on that. There's no way that we can catch up to this backlog if we have people in here that don't understand the law. Thank you.
If you hang on to the microphone there, we'll get another question in here. What constitutes a conflict of interest for a judge, and how would you handle conflicts of interest in the Court of Criminal Appeals?
I think as far as conflicts of interest, perhaps during my time at the Bexar County District Attorney's Office when I was serving in the Conviction Integrity Unit, if I worked on a case there and that case came up before the Court of Criminal Appeals, I think that could potentially be a conflict of interest because I served as a prosecutor. You can't serve as an advocate and then sit as a judge. So I would have to recuse myself from a case like that. The only other thing I could think of as far as a conflict of interest is if any of us on the campaign trail, we are prohibited from commenting on how we would rule on a case. If any of us were to say how we were to rule on a case and something like that came before us, we would have to recuse ourselves from that. That would be a conflict of interest. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually agree with Allison on those points. It's very important that judicial candidates don't speak about how they would rule on future matters. But I also think that talking about the performance of a court that has lost its way is fair game. So you have to be cognizant of that. And I also think that on the subject of endorsements, I would really encourage you to look into the endorsements that all of us have in this race, how we got them, and who's endorsing who, because they do matter. And I think it's very important to understand when I ask for an endorsement, I have it in my phone, I have it in writing, and I make sure that I've gotten it. And I think you need to understand that, to understand who's supporting us and where support's coming from, because that plays into judicial ethics as well.
Well, I'll concur with my colleagues. I'm a former felony defense lawyer. I had a private law practice in Williamson County for 12 years before I went to work for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and I represented hundreds of people in Williamson, Bell, Travis, and with this court being in Austin, even though it is statewide, there is a lot of activity. So if I had a former client, if their case came before the bench, of course, I would have to recuse myself. And then some along the same lines, just, same thing. If there was an issue that I had commented on, I would certainly recuse myself. And, I will say one thing real quick too on the endorsements. Most of my endorsements have been honestly sought. One that's outside of the legal realm, I just got the C Club endorsement, which is a fiscal responsibility group in Harris County. So I have that aspect too. So thank y'all very much.
And we've got one more set of questions, and we'll start with you and bring the microphone back. Are there steps you could or would take to speed up decisions and thus reduce the caseload of the court?
Well, that's a wonderful question. So this court, my understanding, 10 years ago, was issuing opinions in 200 days. And currently it's issuing opinions in 500 days. So the opinion delivery, and I don't know, y'all can ask my opponent. She's been serving on this court for the last 10 years. Maybe she knows why it takes twice as long for this court to get an opinion out. I know part of it was COVID. I don't know if it's the distribution among the 9 judges, but that is a priority with me. I believe in efficient government. You as taxpayers deserve efficient government. And that's the first thing I want to do when you elect me is get in there and figure out what in the heck is going on that's taken this long. Thank you.
That's a great question. When I was a law clerk for the Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court, he was the administrative head of that court as well. And he was the guy who made that court run smoothly and functionally. He would be appalled at the backlog that this court has. And it has continued to grow. And for whatever reason, there is resistance within the court to coming up with creative solutions to address this. For instance, 3-judge panels to decide things of a lower level and clear out the backlog. That's one idea. Hasn't happened yet. I would be willing to consider something like that and propose that to the rest of the court. And I think it doesn't serve you as taxpayers to have this going on. It doesn't serve the state, who has cases pending before this court, to have this going on. And it doesn't serve defendants who deserve to have their day in court to have this done. This backlog needs to stop, and it's another reason why we need change on this court. Thank you all.
Well, I could say that during my time as working as a chambers attorney, my judge that I work for, we have a 0 backlog chambers. And the reason for that is probably because of me. I'm a mom of 5. You have to be efficient when you have 5 children. I also spent the last 8 years putting my husband through his doctoral program. He just received his PhD in theology. I have been the sole breadwinner, working 40+ hours a week with 5 kids. If anybody can make a chambers run efficiently, it's this girl. Thank you.
Thank you to all of them. Please give them all a round of applause. Thank you. Yeah, it's just been